Hi, and welcome to the Myth of Goaltending. Sorry, pardon me, Myth of Hockey. A little snafu there. Welcome to the Myth of Hockey. So today I'm going to talk about Patrick Roy and why I believe he is overvalued. So I'm going to get right to it. Patrick Roy, in his junior season, his last junior year, he went 16, 25, and 1. So a terrible win percentage. He gave up 5.55 goals against in those games. If you were to look at those stats, 5.55, 25 and 1, and his name wasn't attached to those stats, you had no idea who the goalie was that put up those numbers, you would say he stinks. Even during the era that he played where they gave up a ton of goals in junior, you still would say, compared to other goalies, he stinks. So here's what's fascinating to me, and this is just, I was blown when I did my research and found this out. So against kids, against teenagers, in junior hockey, Patrick Roy couldn't make a difference. A year later, he wins a Stanley Cup. This is fascinating. If we think we know what goaltending is, that, it makes the difference in winning and losing, how is it facing men a year later, the best players in the world, how is it he can win a Stanley Cup for the Montreal Canadiens, but he couldn't stop a beach ball in junior? What changed? What changed for him? This is, if you don't find this already fascinating, that within a year, not 7 years, not 9 years, within a year, he goes from terrible stats versus teenagers shooting on him to playing the best players in the world, men, firing pucks at him and winning a Stanley Cup. This is mind-blowing to me. And here's what's even more fascinating. During the regular season with the Montreal Canadiens, after the terrible junior stats, he had a very regular, average season. He went 23, 18, and 3 with a 3.35 goals against average and an .875 save percentage during the regular season with the Canadiens. Very average stats. Stop. Halt. The playoffs begin. And what happens? He goes 15-5, a much better win percentage than the regular season. He has a 1.93 goals against average and a .923 save percentage. Again, what changed? What changed from a very average regular season to these, quote, fantastic stats in the playoffs to win the Stanley Cup? Now, here's what I don't believe, and I in fact, I know this can't be true. When he started the playoffs, he didn't take a magic pill. He didn't change his systems with gap control or whatever it may be. He didn't change save techniques where he tried to do something different in the playoffs. You know what changed for the Montreal Canadiens? Was that it was playoff hockey. And every single GM and coach, and even the average fan, knows, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that NHL playoff hockey, it's harder to score. The quality chances go down. There's less risk taken. That's fact. There's less penalties called, so there's less goals against because there's no power plays. So don't try to tell me that Patrick Roy was the main factor in winning that Stanley Cup, because a year earlier, he couldn't make a difference on his junior team facing teenagers. End of story. And here's one more fact about Patrick Roy. In his last year with Colorado, when he retired, now, you can't say, well, he was getting old, because in his last NHL season with Colorado, he had one of his best ever statistical seasons. But here's what happened. Patrick Roy had a .920 save percentage, a .218 goals against average. He went 35 wins, 15 losses, and 13 ties. Great season. Great stats. Here's what happened. Here's who replaced him. David Abisher. And again, if goaltending is everything, the Colorado team should have tanked. But no, as per usual, when the great goalies get replaced, it's status quo. Because this is David Abisher's stats. He went 32, 19, and 9. He had a .924 save percentage, which was better than was. He had a 2.09 goals against average, which was better than was the year before. And before you say what anything else, I'm going to stop. Forsberg only played half the season. So they lost a lot of important man games. And when you look at the shots, and when you look at how many they faced, and the minutes they played, they were virtually identical. But here's what changed, because you're going to say, well, Patrick Roy won 3 more games and lost 4 less. But here's what happened. Because Forsberg was out of the lineup for half the season, they could only score 236 goals with Abisher in net, but they scored 251 with Roy in net. So you know what? At the end of the day, David Abisher, who nobody knows as a good, quote, good goalie, stepped in for the Hall of Famer, the great Patrick Roy, and did just as good. People, I hope you're starting to understand what I'm trying to show you, not tell you, because this is not opinions. I am just providing the facts. I am simply the messenger.